Hi there and welcome back to Airgun Reporter. My name is Paul Capello. For today's episode, we'll be checking out the Evanix Windy City. We've been seeing some great things coming from Evanix this year, including the blizzard and the rainstorm. Now that rainstorm got over 70 shots per fill and it was amazingly accurate. Let's go ahead and see if the Windy City measures up. The first thing you're going to realize about the Windy City is that it doesn't have a tube reservoir. Instead, it has a 400cc bottle, and that represents a design change from Evanix. What you might find that's familiar is the action. It's the same one that's shared on the blizzard and the rainstorm. Of course, we have the wonderful Evanix stock. This one is a ambidextrous thumb hole design, has nice checkering on the grip, and it has this great swoop up here, and I found it gives me a fantastic cheek weld. Let's go over some of the other features as well. All right, let's take a closer look at the action on the Windy City. Like I said, it shares the same design as the rainstorm and the blizzard. We have our side lever cocking mechanism, 10-shot rotary clip, hunter style safety, and 2-stage adjustable trigger. There's one thing I like about this design. You can't load 2 pellets at the same time. That's a great feature. Also remember that the Evanix rifles don't come with open sights. You'll have to put your own scope on. I have a Hawk 6.5 to 20 by 42 scope on it, and I happen to like this one a lot. Let's go ahead and fill up this reservoir, and we'll take some shots over the cranny. Okay, if you notice on the bottom of the forestock here, we have a pressure gauge and a quick fill nipple, but unfortunately, it's not a Foster fitting. But what I had to do is put a Foster adapter on it to match my fill source, which is an AirHog tank. That's kind of a disappointment. I was hoping there would be a standard Foster fitting on it, but we can't ask for everything. So put that on there. Make sure my bleed valve is closed, and we're going to fill it to 2900 psi, which is the recommended pressure. Nice and slow. It gets to 2900. Go ahead and start easing off on it. And there we go. Just about there. Get a little more. There we go. Go ahead and bleed it. Take the valve off, and that's all there is to it. Okay, in case you haven't noticed yet, the Windy City does have a shrouded barrel, just like all the new rifles in the Evanix line. It also has the same adjustable butt pad. I'm just going to move it to where it's most comfortable for me. It's about there. Just tighten it down. Regular flathead screwdriver, very easy. We're going to be using a couple of different pellets for the chronic test. A lighter one, JSB Jumbo Express, 14.3 grains. And then we'll do Beeman Kodiak's 21 grains. Let's see how it does. Even after taking just 10 shots now with the Evanix Windy City, I have to say that this thumb hole stock is very sexy. Let's find out what the JSBs did. We have a low velocity number of 976 feet per second, a high of 1009, an average of 996 feet per second, extreme spread of 32, and a standard deviation of 9.2 feet per second. So, based on the average and our pellet weight, let's figure out the foot-pounds of energy. Let me go ahead and take 996 times 996 times the pellet weight, which is 14.3, and divide that by our constant, which is 450,240, and that gives us 31 foot-pounds of energy. Let's go ahead and test out the Beeman Kodiak pellets, 21 grains. Okay, with the Beeman Kodiak's 21 grains, we have a low number of 878 feet per second, a high of 908, an average of 896 feet per second, an extreme spread of 30 feet per second, and a standard deviation of 10. Based on my calculations, we've got 36 foot-pounds of energy. Let's move on to my favorite part of the show, the accuracy testing. Okay, the first pellet we're going to test out for accuracy is going to be the Beeman Kodiak's. And it's appropriate that we're testing the Windy City here today because there's a little bit of wind kicking up. And a couple of things I've been noticing as I'm shooting the Windy City here today is that the cocking is very smooth. It indexes perfectly. I've had no hang-ups. And the Hunter style safety has a nice positive click to it. I noticed on the blizzard and the rainstorm that the spring was a little bit weak on the Hunter style safety, and that was a little bit of a concern. It still had a kind of a positive click, but this one has a nice solid click to it, and I like that in a safety. Okay, let's go ahead and try out the Beeman Kodiak's. I've got my target set up at 20 meters. Let's see how we do. I'm gonna bag rest this. Not even gonna hold it in my hand. Just gonna get down here. Get on target. Wow, despite the wind, that target is looking real good in the scope. Let me go get it and we'll see how we did. Now this is what I'm talking about, folks. This thing is shooting real nice. We have easily a sub 1/4 inch group here with the Beeman Kodiak's. Just a fantastic little group there. Now, I think I have a good feeling about the JSB Jumbo Express. So let me load those up and we'll shoot some targets downrange. After we shoot a group with the JSB Jumbo Express, I'm gonna try the JSB Monsters. That gave us very nice results in the Evanix Rainstorm. Maybe this one will like that pellet as well. Okay, once again, we're at 20 meters downrange. Let me go ahead and shoot a group of 5. Okay, well, that looks real good too, so let me get that target and we'll check out the results. Man, I gotta tell you, again, another sub 1/4 inch group. The JSB Monsters are a big old 25 grain pellet, and these performed extremely well in the Evanix Rainstorm. So I thought I'd give it a try here. Get my old pellets out here. Save those are still good. Waste not, want not. Back there in my JSB tin. Okay. These JSB Monster pellets are real big, so what I'm doing here is just seating them inside the clip so they don't catch on the breech. Well, okay, with the JSB Monsters, this was my biggest group yet, but it could just be my shooting. It looks like it does want to perform. Here we go. Bigger than 1/4 inch, but still easily covered by a nickel. Okay, let's go ahead and do the sound testing, then we'll test the trigger, and then I'll give my final comments on the Evanix Windy City. Well, it looks like 100.7 decibels was the max I can get on my off-the-shelf sound meter there. Again, this isn't a scientific experiment here. This just gives you an idea of how loud the air rifle is. I consider this one fairly quiet. It's not as quiet as a Marauder, but it's definitely backyard friendly. Now let's go ahead and move on to the trigger testing, and we'll see how that 2-stage Evanix Windy City trigger does. Okay, as I set up my trigger gauge here, a couple of other observations. At 7.8 pounds, the Windy City is really light. And I have to say, this Hawk Sidewinder scope I have on it is a great combination for this rifle. It's lightweight, it's got some really good optics, and I think it's just a good fit for this rifle if you're doing some target shooting. It might be a little bit much for hunting, but for target shooting, this is definitely a great little scope. All right, now that I have this set up, I'll make that ready. Get my safety glasses on here. 2 pounds, 15 ounces. 3 pounds, 3.1 ounces. 3 pounds, 0.7 ounces. 3 pounds, 3.7 ounces. And one more shot. And then we'll get the average. 3 pounds. And our average is 3 pounds, 1.3 ounces. Once again, the Windy City's trigger is adjustable. It's a 2-stage trigger. And I have to say, over the last couple of years, Evanix have been really refining their triggers. I happen to like this one a lot. Now, before we move on to the wrap-up, let's go ahead and find out how many shots per fill the Windy City gets. Just for the heck of it, for our shots per fill test here, I'm going to throw another pellet at the Windy City. Crossman Premiers. And you never know, we might get some good results downrange as we're doing this test. Now, based on the rainstorm, we got over 70 shots per fill on that, which is excellent. And if we get about the same as that, or maybe a little better, I'm going to be a happy air gunner. Okay, let's charge back up to 2,900 pounds. That is the recommended pressure for the Windy City. Then we'll set up a target downrange and see how many shots we get. Right about there. Well, here's our target that represents over 90 shots. Here we have the first 70 shots in a hole about the size of a quarter, and then after about 80, 85, 90 shots, we started dropping off. Well, folks, in conclusion, I have to say that Evanix has another winner with the Windy City. It performs on par with the Rainstorm, which was pretty hard to beat. That gun is a definite performer. And it took just about every pellet I threw at it today. The JSB Jumbo Express, the Crossman Premiers, the outstanding Beeman Kodiaks, and even the JSB Monsters, which gave us our biggest group. But there is one thing I don't like about the gun, and that's the fill connection. I had wished they put a Foster fitting on it. Come on, let's just standardize this stuff already. Put Foster fittings on all these pre-charged pneumatic air guns, and let's cut all the baloney with the probes and all that stuff. But it's lightweight, it's got a beautiful stock, great action, nice and smooth, and it gets over 80 shots per fill. For Air Gun Reporter, my name is Paul Capello. Until next time, shoot safe and have fun. Please remember, folks, air guns are not toys. Even the smallest calibers can cause serious injury if not used properly. And you should never, under any circumstance, point an air gun at a person. Parents, if you teach your children to shoot responsibly, they will have a lifetime of air gun enjoyment.